Philadelphia was bleeding ice and neon the night everything broke. Inside a glass tower overlooking the frozen city, a woman with cracked ribs and blood on her lips typed a desperate message with shaking hands. One wrong number. One man who wasn't supposed to answer. 20 minutes later, a penthouse door exploded off its hinges, and the most dangerous person in Philadelphia walked through the smoke carrying a dying woman in his arms. This is the story of Nola, the survivor who became a weapon, and Lucian Vale, the ghost king of the underworld who broke every rule to save her. If you're watching from your city tonight, drop a comment below and hit that like button. Let me see how far this story travels. Because what happened next tore Philadelphia apart. The phone was dying. Nola pressed her spine against the marble bathroom wall and watched the battery percentage drop to 4% while her ribs screamed with every shallow breath. Blood pooled in her mouth where her teeth had cut through her inner cheek. She could taste copper and terror in equal measure. Outside the locked door, Adrian Mercer paced the penthouse living room. His footsteps were calm now, measured. That was always the worst part. The silence after the storm, when his rage crystallized into something cold and surgical. Her hands shook as she unlocked her phone. The screen cracked 3 months ago during another fight she pretended never happened. Now spiderwebs of broken glass splintered her reflection into 1,000 fractured versions of herself. 3% battery. She scrolled to her brother's contact. Mason, the only person left in her life who remembered who she used to be before Adrian carved her into something smaller, quieter, easier to control. But her vision blurred. Pain radiated through her chest cavity like shattered piano wire. Her thumb slipped. She typed the message anyway. He broke my ribs. Please help. Penthouse 47B, Arch Tower. I can't breathe. 2%. She hit send without checking the number. The phone died in her palm. Nola closed her eyes and wondered if anyone would ever find the message. Wondered if Mason would even come. She hadn't spoken to him in 2 years. Not since Adrian convinced her that her family was toxic, that they wanted to control her, that leaving them behind was the only way to be free. Freedom. The word felt obscene now. She pressed her forehead against the cool tile and tried to breathe without screaming. Outside, Adrian's voice drifted through the door, smooth, practiced. The same voice that charmed judges and juries, the same voice that whispered apologies after every broken promise. Nola, sweetheart, I know you're upset. Let's talk about this like adults. She said nothing. I didn't mean to push you that hard. You know I lose my temper when you accuse me of things. You make me feel like I'm the bad guy here. Her jaw clenched. Open the door. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic. That was his favorite word. Every time she flinched, every time she cried, every time she tried to explain that his hands left bruises shaped like accusations across her skin. Dramatic. The doorknob rattled. Nola, I'm not asking twice. She heard the warning beneath the gentleness, heard the leash tightening. Then his phone rang. Adrian's footsteps retreated. His voice shifted into business mode, clipped, efficient, cold. She couldn't make out the words, but she recognized the tone. He used it when talking to the people who funded his law practice, the ones whose names never appeared in court records. Nola forced herself upright. Every movement felt like knives twisting between her bones. She gripped the sink and stared at her reflection in the mirror. A stranger stared back, hollow eyes, bruised cheekbone, hair tangled and dull. She used to have a master's degree in urban planning, used to design parks and community spaces, used to laugh so hard her stomach hurt. Now she couldn't remember the last time she smiled and meant it. She turned on the faucet and splashed cold water across her face. Blood swirled down the drain in pale pink spirals. Adrian's voice rose in the other room. I don't care what Volkov wants. The timeline doesn't change. We move the funds Friday or not at all. Volkov. Nola froze. She'd heard that name before, whispered in Adrian's study late at night when he thought she was asleep. Always followed by numbers, account transfers, offshore routes, shipping schedules that had nothing to do with his legal practice. She pressed her ear against the door. No, she doesn't know anything. I've kept her completely isolated. The accounts are clean. Everything traces back to her signature, not mine. Her stomach dropped. Her signature. The documents Adrian made her sign 6 months ago. The ones he said were just formalities for his new investment firm. She'd been so tired that night, so worn down from another fight, that she signed without reading. If the feds come sniffing, she's the one holding the bag, not me. That's the entire point. Nola's breath caught. Oh, God. Yeah, I'll handle it. Just keep Volkov's people off my back until Friday. After the transfer clears, I don't care what happens to her. The room tilted. She stumbled backward and hit the bathtub. Her ribs shrieked. Black spots bloomed across her vision. Adrian's footsteps approached the door again. Nola, enough. Open up or I'm breaking the lock. She looked around wildly. No windows, no escape, just marble walls and expensive fixtures that suddenly felt like a tomb. The lock clicked. Adrian had a key. Of course he did. The door swung open and he stood there in his tailored suit, perfectly composed except for the muscle twitching in his jaw. His blue eyes swept over her with the clinical detachment of a man inspecting damaged property. You look terrible, he said quietly. She pressed herself against the bathtub. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, locked it again. Who did you text? Her heart hammered. No one. Don't lie to me, Nola. I saw the screen light up before you dropped the phone. It died. Who did you text? My brother. Something flickered across Adrian's face. Calculation. Then he smiled. The same smile he used in courtrooms when he knew he'd already won. Your brother, he repeated softly. The one who hasn't spoken to you in 2 years? The one who thinks you're a spoiled brat who chose money over family? The words landed like scalpels. He's not coming, Nola. No one is. She couldn't breathe. Adrian crouched in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, sandalwood, and lies. Here's what's going to happen, he said. You're going to clean yourself up. We're going to go back out there and have dinner like civilized people. And tomorrow morning, you're going to come with me to the bank and finalize the last set of transfers. Understand? I'm not signing anything else. His hand shot out and grabbed her face, fingers digging into her bruised cheek until tears sprang to her eyes. You'll sign whatever I tell you to sign, because if you don't, I will make sure your brother ends up in a federal prison cell next to you. I've got enough evidence planted to bury you both. He released her and stood. Now get up. Nola's legs wouldn't move. Adrian's patience evaporated. He grabbed her arm and hauled her upright. Pain exploded through her torso. She gasped and sagged against him. Pathetic, he muttered. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his expression went flat. Someone was calling from the lobby. He answered. What? Even through the phone, Nola heard the security guard's shaking voice. Mr. Mercer, there are men in the lobby asking for access to your floor. Tell them to leave. Sir, they're not leaving. They're armed. They said. The line went dead. Adrian stared at his phone. For the first time since Nola had known him, she saw something like fear cross his face. What's happening? She whispered. He didn't answer. He dragged her out of the bathroom and across the living room toward the penthouse's private elevator. His movements were jerky now, panicked. Who did you really text? He hissed. I told you, my brother. Your brother doesn't have armed men. The elevator chimed. Adrian froze. The doors slid open. 3 men stepped out. They wore black tactical gear and moved with the silent precision of people who'd done this 1,000 times. No hesitation, no wasted motion. The lead man was tall and broad-shouldered, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. But it was the man who stepped out behind them that made Adrian's grip on Nola's arm go slack. Lucien Vale. Nola had never seen him before, but she knew who he was the same way you know a predator when it walks into a room. He wore an immaculate black coat over a dark suit. His face was all sharp angles and cold intelligence, gray eyes that looked like they'd watched cities burn and felt nothing. The rumors about Lucien Vale spread through Philadelphia like smoke. The crime lord who controlled everything from the docks to the courthouses, the man whose name made prosecutors nervous and defense attorneys rich. No one had ever successfully prosecuted him. No one had ever gotten close. He stopped 3 feet from Adrian and studied him with the detached interest of an entomologist examining an insect. Adrian Mercer, Lucien said. His voice was quiet, controlled, more terrifying than shouting. Step away from her. Adrian's hand tightened on Nola's arm. This is a private residence. You're trespassing. Step away. Do you have any idea who you're threatening? I have connections. I have... Lucien moved. One moment he was standing still. The next he had Adrian by the throat, slammed against the wall hard enough to crack the drywall. The movement was so fast Nola barely saw it happen. Adrian gasped, clawed at Lucien's wrist. Lucien leaned close. She sent a message. Wrong number. Right person. Now let her go before I put you through that window. He released Adrian, who collapsed coughing. Then Lucien turned to Nola. His expression shifted. The cold calculation melted into something she couldn't quite read. Concern? Rage? Both? Can you walk? He asked. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Then we're leaving. Adrian lurched upright. You can't just take her. I'll call the police. One of Lucien's men pulled out a phone and held it up. The screen showed a video, Adrian screaming at Nola, shoving her against the kitchen counter. The footage was crystal clear. Penthouse has cameras in the hallways, the man said flatly. Building security didn't delete the footage fast enough. Adrian went white. Lucien buttoned his coat. Call whoever you want, but if I hear you've gone near her again, they'll find pieces of you scattered across 3 states. He said it like he was ordering coffee. Then he looked at Nola. Let's go. She took one step forward and her legs buckled. Lucien caught her before she hit the floor. His arms were surprisingly gentle as he lifted her like she weighed nothing. I've got you, he said quietly. Nola wanted to argue, wanted to say she could walk on her own, but pain fogged her brain and exhaustion dragged at her bones. She let her head rest against his chest. Behind them, Adrian shouted something about lawyers and consequences. Lucien didn't even look back. The elevator doors closed, and the world Nola knew ended. Eek. The car was warm. That was the first thing Nola registered. Warm leather seats, heated air blowing gently from the vents, and the faint scent of gunpowder mixed with expensive cologne. She sat in the back of a black SUV with tinted windows. Lucien sat across from her, watching her with that same unreadable expression. One of his men drove, the other 2 followed in a second vehicle. They moved through Philadelphia like ghosts. No sirens, no traffic stops, just smooth, silent progress through streets slicked with January ice. Nola pressed a hand against her ribs and tried to make sense of what just happened. Why? The word came out hoarse. Lucien tilted his head slightly. Why what? Why did you come? You don't know me. You asked for help. I asked my brother. Wrong number, Set. She stared at him. So you just broke into a building and pulled me out? You don't even know if I was telling the truth. I know what a broken rib sounds like in someone's breathing. I know what fear looks like when it's been carved into someone for years. His voice was still quiet, still controlled. And I know men like Adrian Mercer. You could have called the police. Lucien's smile was cold and humorless. Police would have arrested you both. Run your names. Found whatever financial traps he's woven around you. You'd be in a cell before sunrise. Nola's stomach twisted. How did you... I didn't get where I am by being stupid. Men like Mercer don't get violent unless they're protecting something. He's got you tied to something illegal. Probably money laundering. Possibly worse. She looked away. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Where are you taking me? Somewhere safe? One of my properties outside the city. Gated, guarded. He won't find you there. And then what? I just live as your prisoner instead? Lucien's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. You're not a prisoner. You're under protection. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. The word was absolute. Final. Nola wanted to argue, wanted to demand he take her to a hospital, to a police station, anywhere but deeper into whatever world he inhabited, but exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. Her eyes drifted closed. Stay awake, Lucien said sharply. She forced them open. Why? Possible concussion. You took a hard hit to the head. How do you know that? Because you've got blood in your hair, and you keep favoring your right side even when you sit still. He leaned forward and pulled a first aid kit from under the seat. His movements were efficient, practiced. He'd done this before. Let me see your ribs. No. That wasn't a request. I don't care. They stared at each other. Nola saw something in his face shift. Not anger, but a kind of weary understanding. I'm not going to hurt you, he said quietly. But if those ribs are broken badly enough to puncture a lung, you'll drown in your own blood before we reach the safe house. So either let me check or spend the next 20 minutes suffocating. Your choice. Nola's hands shook as she unbuttoned her blouse. Lucien's jaw tightened when he saw the bruises, purple and black across her entire left side, spreading like spilled ink beneath her skin. He pressed gently along her ribcage. She hissed in pain. Fractured, not fully broken. You'll live. He pulled out gauze and medical tape. This is going to hurt. It did. He wrapped her ribs with the mechanical precision of someone who'd patched up more than a few injuries. When he finished, he handed her a bottle of water and 2 pills. Painkillers, not opioids. Just enough to take the edge off. She took them without arguing. The car climbed into the hills outside the city. Snow fell heavier here, turning the world into a monochrome blur of white and shadow. They passed through an iron gate that opened automatically, then down a long driveway lined with bare trees. The house looked like something from another era. Stone and steel and glass perched on a cliff overlooking the frozen Delaware River. Lights glowed warm in the windows, but the building itself felt like a fortress. The car stopped. Lucien stepped out first, then offered his hand. Nola ignored it and climbed out on her own. Her legs trembled, but she stayed upright. 2 armed men stood at the entrance. They nodded at Lucien and opened the doors without a word. Inside, the house was beautiful in a cold, austere way. High ceilings, minimal furniture, everything sharp lines and neutral colors except for one wall of floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the river like a living painting. A woman appeared from a side hallway, mid-50s, gray hair pulled back, wearing scrubs. "This is Dr. Chen," Lucien said. "She's going to examine you properly." Nola blinked. "You have a doctor on staff?" "I have a lot of things on staff." Dr. Chen smiled gently. "Let's get you upstairs, honey. You look like you're about to collapse." She wasn't wrong. The examination took an hour. Dr. Chen confirmed the fractured ribs, treated the cuts on Nola's face, checked for internal bleeding and concussion symptoms. When she finished, she left Nola sitting on the edge of a massive bed in a guest room that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. "Get some rest," Dr. Chen said. "I'll check on you in the morning." Then she was gone. Nola sat in the silence and tried to process what had just happened. 4 hours ago, she'd been locked in Adrian's bathroom, certain she was going to die. Now she was in a stranger's house, wrapped in bandages, wearing borrowed clothes, and the most dangerous man in Philadelphia was somewhere downstairs acting like rescuing battered women was a normal Tuesday night activity. None of it made sense. She stood and walked to the window. Snow fell thick and fast now, erasing the world beyond the glass. The river below looked black and infinite. A knock on the door. "Come in." Lucien entered carrying a tray. Tea, toast, soup. "You need to eat something," he said. "I'm not hungry." "Eat anyway." He set the tray on the bedside table and stood there, hands in his pockets, looking like he was trying to figure out what to do with her. "Why are you doing this?" Nola asked. "I already told you." "No. You told me you know men like Adrian. That's not an answer." Lucien was quiet for a long moment. Then he crossed to the window and stood beside her, staring out at the storm. "My father used to beat my mother," he said finally, "every night for 15 years. I was too small to stop him, too weak. I'd hide in my room and listen to her scream and tell myself that one day I'd be strong enough." His voice was flat, emotionless, like he was reciting fact. "By the time I was strong enough, she was already dead. Heart attack at 37. Doctors said it was natural. I knew better." Nola's throat tightened. "So I killed him," Lucien continued, "made it look like an accident. No one questioned it, and I promised myself that no man in my city would ever do what he did and walk away from it." He turned to face her. "That's why I came. Not because I'm a good person. I'm not. But I keep my promises." Nola didn't know what to say to that. Lucien walked toward the door, then paused. "One more thing. Adrian Mercer is connected to the Volkov syndicate. Russian organized crime, very dangerous people. By taking you, I've just declared war on them." "What?" "They'll come for you, for me, for anyone they think knows where you are. So until I figure out how deep this goes, You stay here. Doors locked, guards outside, no phone calls, no internet, no contact with the outside world. You're keeping me prisoner. I'm keeping you alive. There's a difference. He left before she could argue. Nola sank onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. Outside, the storm raged. And somewhere in Philadelphia, Adrian Mercer was making phone calls. The war had already begun. What? She didn't sleep. Nola lay in the dark and listened to the house settle around her. Footsteps in distant hallways, muted voices. Once, the sound of a car engine starting and fading into the night. Around 3 in the morning, she gave up and went to the window. Snow had stopped. The world outside looked frozen in time. White hills, black river, stars scattered like broken glass across the sky. A figure stood on the terrace below. Lucien. He was smoking a cigarette, his breath fogging in the cold air. Even from here, Nola could see the tension in his shoulders. She watched him for a long time. Then she turned away, climbed back into bed, and finally let herself cry. Not because she was scared, but because for the first time in 3 years, someone had come when she asked for help, even if it was the wrong person. Morning arrived gray and bitter. Nola woke to find fresh clothes laid out on a chair, jeans, sweater, boots that actually fit. Someone had been in the room while she slept. The thought should have terrified her, but she was too exhausted to care. She dressed slowly, every movement sending fresh pain through her ribs. Downstairs, she found Lucien in what looked like a study. Dark wood, leather chairs, walls lined with books that actually looked read. He was on the phone speaking in rapid-fire Russian. When he saw her, he ended the call. Sit. Nola remained standing. I want answers. Then ask questions. What did Adrian tie me to? Lucien pulled a folder from his desk and slid it across to her. Inside were financial documents, account statements, and corporation papers, all bearing her signature. $40 million in laundered money, he said, spread across 18 offshore accounts, all in your name. Biometric access keyed to your fingerprints and retinal scan. Nola's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. I know. How? Because if you knew, you wouldn't have texted for help. You'd have disappeared with the money yourself. He stood and walked to the window. Adrian set you up as the fall guy. If the feds come looking, every piece of evidence points to you. He walks away clean. So what do I do? That depends. On what? Lucien turned to face her. On whether you want justice or revenge. What's the difference? Justice means we turn over the evidence, put Adrian in prison, and you spend the next decade clearing your name in court. Revenge means we use what he built against him, burn his world down, make him pay for every bruise he left on your skin. Nola stared at him. You're talking about breaking the law. I'm talking about survival. That's not... Her phone buzzed. Wait, her phone. She'd left it dead in Adrian's penthouse. Lucien pulled a device from his pocket. Same model, same cracked screen. My people grabbed it on the way out, charged it this morning. You have 17 missed calls, all from your brother. Mason. Nola grabbed the phone and scrolled through the messages. Where are you? Nola, please answer. I saw the news. They're saying Adrian was attacked. Are you okay? Call me news? She looked at Lucien. He turned on the television mounted above the fireplace. A reporter stood outside Arch Tower, breath fogging in the cold morning air. Sources say attorney Adrian Mercer was assaulted in his penthouse last night by unknown assailants. His girlfriend, Nola, is missing and believed to be in danger. Police are asking anyone with information to... Nola's stomach dropped. He's playing the victim. Of course he is, and now every cop in the city is looking for you. I have to call my brother. I have to tell him, no. He's my family. And Adrian knows that. The moment you make contact, he'll use Mason to draw you out. Mason would never... Mason doesn't have to cooperate. They'll follow him, tap his phone, use him as bait whether he knows it or not. Nola wanted to scream. So I just let him think I'm dead? Better than getting him killed. The truth of that settled like lead in her chest. Lucien crossed to the desk and opened his laptop. Security camera footage filled the screen, multiple angles of Philadelphia's industrial waterfront. This is Pier 19, he said, one of the Volkov syndicate's main shipping operations. 3 days from now, They're moving a container shipment worth approximately $60 million. Weapons, pharmaceuticals, possibly human cargo. Why are you telling me this? Because the shipment is financed with your money. The accounts Adrian opened in your name, they're not just holding funds, they're actively being used to process payments. You're not just a scapegoat, you're a functioning part of their operation. Nola felt sick. Which means, Lucian continued, you have access to everything, every account, every transaction, every name connected to the pipeline. Understanding hit her like cold water. You want me to help you take them down. I want you to take your life back. There's a difference. By destroying them first. Yes. Nola looked at the footage. Armed men, shipping containers, the dark machinery of a world she never wanted to see. Then she looked at her hands, at the signatures on those documents that turned her into a criminal without her knowledge. What would I have to do? Lucy smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We start by making Adrian Mercer very, very nervous. The plan was insane. That was Nola's first thought when Lucian laid it out in full. Her second thought was that it might actually work. Adrian thinks you're helpless, Lucien said. He thinks he's got you trapped, so we let him keep thinking that. Meanwhile, you access the accounts from here. Start moving money in small increments. Nothing obvious, just enough to make the numbers inconsistent. Won't they notice? Eventually, but by the time they figure out what's happening, we'll have enough leverage to burn the entire operation. And Adrian? We let him panic. Panicked men make mistakes. Nola spent the next 3 days learning how to navigate offshore banking systems. Lucien's people brought in specialists, a hacker named Reese, who looked like she'd never seen sunlight, and a former federal prosecutor named Marcus, who walked her through every legal landmine. You're technically committing fraud, Marcus said cheerfully. But since the accounts were opened fraudulently in your name to begin with, there's an argument for digital self-defense. Will that hold up in court? Probably not, but it sounds good. Reese showed her how to cover her digital tracks, how to reroute transfers through shell companies, how to make transactions look like routine processing errors. The key is subtlety, Reese said. You're not stealing, you're auditing. Big difference in the eyes of the law. It was the most surreal education of Nola's life. At night, she sat in her room and thought about Mason, about the life she used to have, about the version of herself that believed love meant letting someone else control you. One evening, Lucian found her on the terrace. You don't have to do this, he said. Yes, I do. Why? Because if I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life running, and I'm tired of running. He nodded slowly. Good answer. They stood in silence, watching the river turn silver under the moonlight. Can I ask you something? Nola said. Maybe. When you killed your father, did it make things better? Lucien was quiet for a long time. No, he finally said. It just made me someone who could live with it. Do you regret it? Every day? And not at all. He left before she could ask what that meant, but she thought she understood. On the fourth day, everything changed. Nola was in the study, routing another transfer, when Reese burst through the door. We've got a problem. Lucian appeared behind her. What kind of problem? Someone's trying to access the accounts from another location, Adrian's IP address. He's attempting to lock Nola out. Nola's heart raced. Can he do that? Not easily. The biometric lock should hold, but if he's got inside help from the bank, block him, Lucian said. I am, but he's not giving up. He's escalating, calling the fraud department, filing emergency access requests. Let him. Reese blinked. What? Let him panic. Let him expose himself. The more noise he makes, the more attention he draws. Or, Nola said slowly, we use it. They both looked at her. What if we make him think I'm about to drain the accounts, she continued. Start a massive transfer, something big enough to trigger every alarm. Make him think I'm running. Lucien's expression shifted. You want to bait him out? I want him desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. Desperate people also do desperate things. Good. Let him come. For the first time since she'd met him, Lucian looked at her like she was someone dangerous. You're sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Reese grinned. I like her. They spent the next 2 hours setting the trap. A transfer request for $38 million, routed through 6 countries, with a final destination in the Cayman Islands. It wouldn't actually process, but it would look real enough to send Adrian into a frenzy. Nola hit execute. Then they waited. 20 minutes later, her phone, Mason's contact, lit up. Mason, calling Nola, stared at it. "Don't answer," Lucian said. "It's my brother." "It's not." The call went to voicemail. 10 seconds later, a text arrived. "Nola, it's Mason. I know you're scared, but Adrian just called me. He says you're in danger. He wants to meet, both of us. Pier 19. Tonight at midnight. Please. He says he'll let you go if you just come talk." Nola's blood went cold. "It's a trap," Lucian said. "I know. He has your brother." "I know. If you go, they'll kill you both." Nola looked at him. "So what do we do?" Lucian pulled out his phone and made a call. "Get everyone. Full tactical gear. Pier 19. Midnight." He ended the call and met Nola's eyes. "We go to war." The hours before midnight crawled like insects beneath skin. Nola sat in the armory because of course Lucien had an armory, and watched men she didn't know prepare for violence with the casual efficiency of people clocking into work. They checked magazines, tested communication headsets, laid out tactical gear in neat rows across steel tables. One of them offered her a vest. She stared at it. "It's Kevlar," the man said. His name was Torres. Scarred knuckles. Dead eyes. "Won't stop a rifle round, but it'll keep you alive if things get messy." "How messy are we talking?" "Very." He walked away before she could ask what that meant. Lucien appeared in the doorway. He changed into black tactical pants and a fitted shirt that made him look less like a crime lord and more like something the military designed to end wars quickly. A shoulder holster crossed his chest. 2 pistols. Combat knife strapped to his thigh. He looked at Nola and his jaw tightened. "You don't have to come." "Yes, I do." "No, you really don't. I can handle this." "It's my brother." "Which is exactly why you shouldn't be there. You'll hesitate. Hesitation gets people killed." Nola stood and crossed the room until she was inches from him, close enough to see the barely controlled fury simmering behind his calm exterior. "I've spent 3 years hesitating," she said quietly. 3 years telling myself that if I just stayed quiet, stayed small, stayed obedient, everything would be okay. And you know where that got me? Locked in a bathroom with broken ribs, typing a message to someone I thought might actually give a damn. I do give a damn. That's the problem. The words landed between them like a confession neither of them was ready for. Nola took a breath. "Then let me finish this. If I hide while other people fight my battles, I'll never stop being the person Adrian turned me into." Lucien stared at her for a long moment. Then he grabbed a vest from the table and held it out. "Put this on. Stay behind me at all times. If I tell you to run, you run. Understand?" "Yes." "I'm serious, Nola. This isn't a negotiation. You follow my orders or you stay here." She took the vest. "I understand." He didn't look convinced, but he nodded and turned to address the room. "Listen up. Primary objective is extraction of the civilian hostage. Secondary objective is neutralizing Adrian Mercer and any Volkov assets on site. We go in quiet. Sniper teams on the rooftops. Recon drones for thermal imaging. No one fires unless I give the order." "What about the target?" Torres asked. "Mercer. Do we bring him in breathing or not?" Lucien's smile was cold and surgical. "That depends on how cooperative he feels." The men dispersed to their vehicles. Nola followed Lucien out into the frozen night. 4 SUVs idled in the driveway, exhaust fogging the air. She climbed into the lead vehicle. Lucien slid in beside her. The convoy rolled out. Philadelphia at night looked like a city suspended between life and death. Empty streets, flickering streetlights. Warehouses crouched in the darkness like sleeping predators. They drove in silence through industrial sectors that smelled of rust and old violence. Nola's phone buzzed. Another text from Mason's number. "Where are you?" "He's getting angry." Her hands shook as she typed back. "I'm coming. Don't let him hurt you." No response. "He doesn't have Mason yet," Lucien said, reading her expression. "If he did, he wouldn't need to keep texting." "How do you know?" "Because leverage only works if the other person believes you'll actually use it. Right now, Adrian's bluffing, trying to draw you out before he loses control of the situation entirely. And if you're wrong, Then I'm wrong. Won't be the first time. The honesty was almost worse than a lie. They reached the waterfront 20 minutes before midnight. The convoy split up. Two vehicles continued toward Pier 19's main entrance. The other two circled around to access points on the north and south perimeters. Lucienne pulled out a tablet showing live drone footage of the pier. Massive shipping containers stacked like dominoes. Cranes towering against the skyline. A single warehouse at the center with lights burning in the windows. Two vehicles parked outside. "That's Adrian's car," Nola said, pointing at the silver Mercedes. "And that's Volkov's," Lucian said, indicating the black Range Rover beside it. "Which means we're not just dealing with Mercer. The Russians are already here." "How many?" "At least 6. Probably more inside." Torres's voice crackled through the radio. "Snipers in position. I've got eyes on 4 hostiles outside the warehouse. 2 more on the catwalk. No sign of the civilian." "Copy that. Hold position until my signal." Lucien turned to Nola. "Last chance to stay in the car." "Not happening." "Then stay close and stay quiet." They exited the vehicle. The cold bit through Nola's clothes immediately. Her breath fogged. Her ribs ached with every movement. The Kevlar vest felt like carrying someone else's fears across her chest. Lucian moved through the shadows between containers with predatory grace. Nola followed, trying to match his silence. Around them, his men materialized like ghosts, appearing and disappearing in the gaps between steel and darkness. They reached the warehouse's south wall. Lucien held up a fist. Everyone stopped. He pressed his ear against the metal siding, listening. Then he gestured to a rusted side door barely visible in the gloom. 2 men moved forward. One picked the lock in under 10 seconds. The door swung open with a soft creak. Inside, the warehouse was a maze of crates and industrial equipment. Forklifts, pallet jacks, the smell of diesel and seawater. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in sickly yellow. Voices echoed from deeper inside. Lucien signaled for the team to spread out. Then he touched Nola's shoulder and pointed to a gap between 2 shipping containers, a hiding spot with a clear view of the warehouse's main floor. She nodded and slipped into position. From here, she could see everything. Adrian stood in the center of the space, talking on his phone. His suit was rumpled, hair disheveled, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man unraveling in real time. 4 Russian men surrounded him, all armed, all watching him with the detached interest of people waiting to see if he'd outlived his usefulness. But no Mason. Nola's stomach knotted. Where was her brother? Adrian ended his call and turned to the Russians. His voice carried across the empty space. "She's coming." "I know she is. She won't let her brother die. You said she would be here by now." The speaker was a broad man with a shaved head and a scar running from his temple to his jaw. His accent was thick. "Victor is losing patience. Victor can wait another 10 minutes. "No, he cannot. You promised us access to the accounts. You promised control. Instead, you have delivered chaos. Money moving without authorization. Banks asking questions. This is not what we agreed to." Adrian's composure cracked. "I didn't know she had access. I thought I locked her out completely." "Then you're a fool." "I'm fixing it. That's why she's coming here. Once I have her, I'll make her transfer everything back. Full control restored." "And if she refuses?" Adrian pulled a pistol from his coat pocket. His hand shook. "She won't refuse." The Russian laughed. It was not a kind sound. "You think you can control her with a gun? You could not control her when she was broken and terrified in your bed. What makes you think you can control her now that she has learned to bite back?" "Because I know her. She's weak. She always has been." "Is that why she stole $40 million while you slept?" Adrian's face flushed. "I told you, I'm handling it." "You are handling nothing. You are a desperate man making desperate choices. Victor sent me to evaluate whether you are still an asset or a liability." The Russian stepped closer. "Right now, you look very much like a liability. I've been laundering your money for 3 years. I built the entire infrastructure. You can't just—" "We can do whatever we want. You are replaceable. She is not. She has the biometric access, the account passwords, the routing codes. If we have her, we do not need you." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Adrian took a step back. "We had a deal. Deals change." The Russian pulled his own weapon and aimed it at Adrian's chest. Call her again. Tell her to come alone. No police. No tricks. If she arrives with help, we kill you immediately and take our chances finding her ourselves. Adrian's hand shook as he pulled out his phone. Nola watched from her hiding spot, heart hammering against her ribs. This was worse than she'd imagined. Adrian wasn't in control. He never had been. He was just another disposable piece in someone else's game. Movement to her left. Lucian crouched beside her. He'd circled around without making a sound. Your brother's not here, he whispered. I know. Which means this is a trap designed specifically for you. I know that too. We can still leave, extract now, regroup and come at this from another angle. Nola looked at him. What happens to Adrian if we leave? The Russians kill him, slowly, painfully. Then they hunt you down anyway. And if we stay? We probably die, but at least we die fighting. It wasn't a good plan, but Nola was tired of good plans that left her powerless. So what do we do? Lucien's smile was sharp and dangerous. We give them exactly what they want. Before she could ask what that meant, he stood and walked out into the open. Gentlemen, he called out, I believe you're waiting for someone. Every gun in the warehouse swung toward him. The Russian with the scar stared at Lucien like he was seeing a ghost. Lucien Vale. Victor still sending amateurs to do his work? Careful, Vale. You are on our territory now. Your territory? Lucien's laugh was cold. You own a pier. I own the city. There's a difference. Adrian's face went white. What are you doing here? Cleaning up your mess. Again. Lucien's gaze swept across the armed men. Where's the woman? What woman? The Russian said. The one you've been texting, Nola Vey. You told her to come here to save her brother. Except her brother isn't here, which means you're running a very sloppy con. This does not concern you. Everything in Philadelphia concerns me, especially when foreign nationals start kidnapping civilians in my city. We have kidnapped no one. Then you won't mind if I search the premises. The Russian's finger tightened on his trigger. You will leave. Now. Or we will... You'll what? Shoot me? Here? In a building I've had under surveillance for 6 months? Go ahead. Pull that trigger. See how many of you make it out alive. Red laser sights suddenly bloomed across every Russian's chest. The men froze. Lucien smiled. I don't bluff, I calculate. And right now the math says you're all 30 seconds away from very expensive funerals. The Russian's jaw clenched. What do you want? The same thing you want. The accounts. The money. Control. Lucien tilted his head. But unlike Adrian here, I actually know how to deliver it. Adrian finally found his voice. You're insane. You don't have access to anything. No, but she does. Lucien gestured toward Nola's hiding spot. Every eye in the building turned. Nola's breath stopped. Come out, Nola, Lucien said gently. It's time. She stood on shaking legs and stepped into the light. Adrian's face contorted with rage and disbelief. You're with him? I'm with myself, Nola said. Her voice didn't shake. That surprised her. You stupid... Adrian lunged toward her. Lucien moved faster. His fist connected with Adrian's jaw hard enough to drop him. Adrian crumpled to the concrete, blood streaming from his mouth. Rule number 1, Lucien said calmly. No one touches her. The Russian watched this with calculating eyes. So, you offer us the woman. In exchange for what? Safe passage out of Philadelphia. Tonight. With your men and whatever cargo you have waiting in those containers. I don't care about your smuggling operation. I care about cleaning up the mess Adrian left behind. And the money? Gets transferred back into neutral accounts, distributed as Victor and I negotiate directly, like professionals. The Russian considered this. Victor will want to speak with you personally. I'm counting on it. And if we simply take the woman now and kill you both? Lucien's smile widened. Then you die here. My snipers are on every rooftop. My men are covering every exit. You're surrounded by enough firepower to sink this pier into the river. So you can take the deal or take your chances. Either way, I'm walking out of here. The tension stretched like wire about to snap. Then a new voice cut through the darkness. I think not. A figure emerged from behind a shipping container. tall, gray-haired, wearing an expensive coat that looked absurd in a warehouse. His face was all hard angles and colder eyes. Victor Volkov. Nola's blood went cold. Lucien's expression didn't change, but she saw something flicker behind his eyes. Surprise. Or maybe respect. Victor, Lucien said evenly, when did you start doing your own field work? When amateurs like Adrian began creating problems that required personal attention. Victor's gaze swept across the scene. You come to my pier. You threaten my men. You think you can negotiate from a position of strength. I don't think. I know. And yet here I stand, alive, which means your snipers have not fired, which means you are bluffing. Or it means I'm giving you one chance to walk away. Victor laughed. It was the sound of something ancient and cruel. I have been killing men like you since before you were born, Vale. You think your reputation frightens me? You are a child playing at being dangerous. Then why are you talking instead of shooting? Because I want to watch your face when you realize you have already lost. He snapped his fingers. The warehouse's main doors exploded inward. More men poured through, at least a dozen, heavily armed, moving with military precision. They surrounded Lucien's position in seconds. Nola's heart hammered. This was wrong, all wrong. Did you really think I would meet you unprepared? Victor said. I knew you would come. I knew you would bring your little army, so I brought a bigger one. The red laser sights on Victor's men winked out one by one. Lucien's jaw tightened. Your snipers are dead, Victor said flatly. Silencers are wonderful inventions, as are thermal scopes that work in both directions. You're lying, am I? Check your radio. Lucien pressed his earpiece. His face went carefully blank. No response. Victor smiled. Now, we will try this again. The woman will transfer all $40 million into accounts I designate. You will watch. Then you will both disappear, perhaps into the river, perhaps into a shipping container bound for Moscow. I have not decided yet. He turned to Nola. Come here, girl. She didn't move. I said come here. No. Victor's expression darkened. Do you know what I do to women who disobey me? I don't care. You should. He gestured to one of his men. Bring her. The man started toward Nola. Lucien stepped between them. Move, the man said. No. Then I will move you. He swung his rifle butt toward Lucien's head. Lucien caught it mid-swing, yanked it forward, and drove his elbow into the man's throat. The Russian went down choking. Lucien grabbed the rifle and fired 3 shots in rapid succession. 3 of Victor's men dropped. Chaos erupted. Gunfire tore through the warehouse. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like strobe lights. Nola dove behind a crate as bullets chewed through metal and wood around her. The Kevlar vest suddenly felt like tissue paper. Lucien materialized beside her. Stay down. Where are your men? Dead or pinned down. We need to move. He grabbed her hand and they ran. Behind them, Victor's voice roared orders in Russian. More gunfire, shouting, the metallic clang of bullets hitting shipping containers. They burst through a side door into the freezing night. Snow had started falling again. The pier stretched out before them, a maze of containers and cranes and shadows. This way! Lucien pulled her toward the water. That's a dead end! I know! They sprinted between containers. Nola's lungs burned. Her ribs screamed, but adrenaline pushed her forward. A figure stepped out ahead of them. Adrian. His face was a mask of blood and fury. He raised his pistol with shaking hands. You ruined everything, he spit. Everything! Adrian, don't! Nola started. He fired. The bullet caught her vest dead center. The impact knocked her backward. She hit the ground hard, gasping. Lucien moved like lightning. He closed the distance before Adrian could fire again, grabbed his wrist, twisted until something cracked. Adrian screamed. The gun clattered to the ice. Lucien's punch drove Adrian into the snow. Stay down, Lucien growled. Adrian laughed through broken teeth. Blood bubbled on his lips. You think this is over? Victor owns this city. He'll hunt you both until there's nothing left. Let him try. More shouts behind them. Victor's men closing in. Lucien hauled Nola to her feet. Can you run? She nodded, even though her chest felt like someone had hit her with a hammer. They ran. The pier ended at a chain-link fence overlooking black water. No way forward, no way back except through Victor's army. Now what? Nola gasped. Lucian pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. Now we improvise. That's not a plan. It's the only one we've got. Footsteps pounded toward them. At least 8 men, rifles raised. Victor appeared behind them, flanked by his remaining soldiers. End of the line, he said. Lucian pushed Nola behind him, placed himself between her and the guns. Victor's smile was thin and cold. Touching, but pointless. You cannot fight your way out of this. No, but I can buy time. For what? For that. Lights exploded across the pier, blinding white floods from every direction. Car engines roared, tires squealed, vehicles burst through the perimeter fence, at least a dozen, all bearing Lucien's colors. Not SUVs, armored trucks, the kind that carry tactical teams. 50 men poured out in full gear. Victor's expression finally cracked. Impossible. Your men reported killing 4 snipers. I brought 20. Lucian's voice was ice. You should have checked the math. You planned this. I planned for you to ambush me, so I let you think you won while my real team surrounded your perimeter. Lucian stepped forward. You're not leaving this pier, Victor. Not tonight, not ever. You dare threaten me? I'm not threatening, I'm executing. He raised his hand. Red laser sights bloomed across every Russian's chest. Victor's face contorted with rage. You cannot kill me. I have connections. Politicians. Judges. Had. Past tense. You'll find most of them suddenly unavailable. Lucian's smile was terrible. I've been building a case against your organization for 6 months. Evidence, witnesses, bank records. Enough to put your entire syndicate underground for decades. The only reason you're still breathing is because I needed you to come here, to show yourself, to give me grounds for self-defense. You're insane. No, I'm thorough. Victor's hand moved toward his coat. Lucien's men fired. The shots were precise, controlled. Victor dropped to the ice with 4 bullets in his chest. His men didn't even flinch. Their weapons clattered to the ground, hands raised. Smart. Nola's ears rang. The world tilted. She pressed her hand against her vest and felt the flattened bullet lodged in the Kevlar. She was alive. She was actually alive. Lucien turned to her. Are you hurt? I don't know. He checked her vest, verified the bullet hadn't penetrated. Then his hands moved to her face, checking for injuries with surprising gentleness. You're okay, he said quietly. You're okay. Your men. You said they were dead. I lied. To draw Victor out of hiding. You used me as bait. Yes. She should have been angry, should have felt betrayed. Instead, she just felt tired. Around them, Lucian's team was securing the Russians. Zip ties. Search patterns. One man was already on the phone with what sounded like federal contacts. Adrian lay in the snow where Lucian had left him, conscious, whimpering. Nola walked over to him. He looked up at her with eyes full of hate and fear in equal measure. This is your fault, he hissed. All of it. If you'd just done what I told you, you'd still be using me. Her voice was flat. You'd still be hurting me. You'd still be telling yourself I deserved it. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing. You took. That's all you've ever done. She crouched beside him, close enough to see the blood crusted in his beard, the split lip, the fear finally breaking through his arrogance. I hope you remember this moment, she said quietly. I hope you remember what it feels like to be helpless while someone else decides whether you live or die. Are you going to kill me? Nola looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood. No, you're not worth it. She walked back to Lucien. Behind her, Adrian started laughing, high and broken. The sound of something shattered beyond repair. What happens now? Nola asked. Lucien glanced toward the warehouse. Federal agents arrive in approximately 8 minutes. Anonymous tip about illegal weapons shipment. They'll find enough evidence to prosecute everyone here. Victor's syndicate will collapse. Adrian will spend the rest of his life in a cell. And you, me, you disappear. New identity, new life. Somewhere Victor's people can't find you. You mean run away? I mean survive. Nola looked at the warehouse, at the men being arrested, at Adrian still laughing in the snow like he'd already lost his mind. She thought about the accounts, the money, the power she suddenly held. What if I don't want to run? Lucian studied her carefully. What do you want? I want the money. All 40 million. I want to take everything Adrian and Victor built and burn it down. Turn it into something that actually matters. That's dangerous. Good. Victor has allies, family, people who will come for revenge. Then I'll deal with them too. Lucian's expression shifted. He looked at her like he was seeing someone entirely new. You've changed, he said. No, I just stopped pretending to be small. Sirens wailed in the distance. Lucian nodded slowly. Then we have work to do, a lot of it, and not much time. Where do we start? First, we get you somewhere safe while the feds clean this up. Then we access every account Victor controlled, every asset, every shell company. We tear his empire apart piece by piece. And Adrian? Let the law have him. Prison is worse than death for men like that. Every day he'll wake up knowing you won. The sirens grew louder. Lucian extended his hand. Last chance to walk away from this. To disappear and live quietly somewhere far from here. Nola looked at his hand, then at the warehouse, then at the frozen city beyond the pier. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, the one who believed love meant submission, who thought staying quiet kept her safe. That woman died the night she sent the wrong text message. Nola took Lucien's hand. Let's burn it all down. He smiled. And together they walked toward the sirens, leaving Adrian's broken laughter echoing across the frozen pier like the ghost of everything she'd survived. The safe house smelled like gunpowder and old coffee. Nola sat at a steel table in what used to be a manufacturing plant before Lucian converted it into something between a fortress and a tomb. Concrete walls, reinforced doors, windows covered with metal grates, every surface cold and unforgiving. She stared at the laptop screen showing account balances that made her dizzy. 40 million, spread across networks so complex she needed Reese to explain them twice. Lucian paced behind her. He'd been pacing for an hour, ever since the federal agents finished processing the pier and finding exactly what he'd promised them. Weapons, drugs, enough evidence to dismantle Victor's entire East Coast operation. Adrian was in custody, singing like a canary, according to Marcus, throwing names around like confetti at a funeral, trying to cut deals that would never materialize. Victor was dead. It should have felt like victory. Instead, Nola felt hollow. The accounts are clean, Reese said, hunched over her own laptop across the table. Her fingers flew across the keyboard with manic precision. No trackers, no government flags. As far as the system knows, you're just a very wealthy woman with diverse international holdings. How long until someone notices the money moving? Already noticed. Banks sent verification requests an hour ago. I spoofed your responses, but we've got maybe 48 hours before they require in-person biometric confirmation. Which means we need to move fast, Lucian said. He stopped pacing and leaned against the wall. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Blood still stained his shirt cuff from the fight on the pier. We liquidate the clean assets, transfer them through shell corporations I control. By the time anyone figures out what happened, the money will be scattered across so many accounts, it'll take years to trace. And the dirty assets? Nola asked. We burn them. Offshore accounts tied directly to trafficking, weapons sales, anything that can't be sanitized. We leak the details to federal prosecutors and let them feast on the remains. Marcus looked up from his own pile of documents. His reading glasses sat crooked on his nose. That's a scorched earth strategy. Victor's remaining associates will know someone betrayed them. They'll come looking. Let them look, Lucien said. By the time they figure out where to point their guns, we'll be ghosts. We, Nola repeated. You keep saying we. Lucian met her eyes. You think I'm walking away from this now? I think you've done enough. You saved me. You destroyed Victor. You don't owe me anything else. This isn't about owing. This is about finishing what we started. Something in his voice made her chest tighten. She looked away and focused on the screen. Fine. Then let's finish it. They worked through the night, transferring funds in carefully calculated increments. Reese built digital smokescreens. Marcus prepared legal documents that would hold up under scrutiny. Lucien coordinated with contacts Nola didn't want to know about. Around 4 a.m, her phone buzzed. Mason's number. Her hand froze over the device. Don't answer, Lucian said immediately. It's my brother. You don't know that. I have to check. She grabbed the phone before he could stop her and answered. Hello? Silence. Then breathing, ragged, terrified. Nola? Mason's voice cracked like breaking glass. Nola, oh God, please tell me this is really you. Her throat closed. Mason, where are you? I don't know. They grabbed me outside my apartment 3 hours ago. Threw me in a van. I'm in some kind of warehouse. It's dark and I can't... His voice broke. I can't see anything. My hands are zip-tied. They keep saying they're going to kill me if you don't... The phone was yanked away. A new voice came on, smooth, accented, female. Nola Vey. My name is Katya Volkov. Victor was my uncle. You killed him. Nola's blood went cold. Lucienne moved beside her. She put the phone on speaker. I didn't kill him, Nola said carefully. Your uncle tried to murder me. Lucien's men defended us. Semantics. He is dead because of you, because you stole what belonged to my family. The money was never yours. It was laundered through fraud and violence. And yet you seem very comfortable spending it. Katya's laugh was sharp and cruel. Did you think we would simply disappear? That Victor's death would end our claim? What do you want? Everything you took, $40 million, transferred to accounts I will provide. You have 12 hours. And if I refuse, then your brother dies. Slowly, I will send you videos of every moment, every scream, every time he begs for mercy that will not come. Nola's hands shook. You're bluffing. Am I? Would you like me to prove it? A scream tore through the speaker. Mason, raw and animal and full of agony. Then silence. That was just his finger, Katya said calmly. I have 9 more. Then we moved to more creative options. 12 hours, Nola. Choose wisely. The line went dead. Nola stared at the phone. Her mind went blank. White noise screaming between her ears. Lucienne grabbed her shoulders. Breathe. Look at me. Breathe. She couldn't. Mason's scream echoed in her skull, over and over. The sound of something breaking that couldn't be fixed. We're not giving her the money, Lucienne said firmly. The moment you transfer those funds, she kills him anyway. That's how this works. Then what do we do? Nola's voice came out strangled. We find him, fast. How? We don't even know where. The call came from somewhere in the city. Reese can triangulate the cell tower, narrow it down to a few square blocks. Reese was already typing. Give me 5 minutes. We don't have 5 minutes. They're torturing him. And rushing in blind gets you both killed. Lucien's grip tightened. I know this is hell, but panic doesn't save lives. Strategy does. Trust me. Nola wanted to scream, wanted to put her fist through the laptop, wanted to tear the entire city apart brick by brick until she found her brother. Instead, she forced herself to breathe. 4 minutes, Reese announced. Call originated from the industrial district, near the old textile factories on Kensington Avenue. I'm pulling up schematics now. Maps flooded the screen. Abandoned buildings, warehouses, miles of urban decay. That's at least 30 structures, Marcus said. We can't search them all in 12 hours. We don't need to search them all. Lucienne studied the maps with cold calculation. Katya's smart. She'll choose somewhere isolated. Good sight lines, multiple exits. Probably a building Victor's people used before. He pointed to a cluster of warehouses near the rail yard. There. Victor stored smuggled goods there 6 months ago. I raided it and burned his inventory. If Katya wants revenge, she'll use that location. Make it symbolic. That's a guess. It's an educated guess, and it's all we've got. Nola stood. Then let's go. No. Excuse me? You're staying here. Like hell I am. That's my brother. Which is exactly why you're staying. You're emotionally compromised. You'll make mistakes. Get people killed. I don't care. I do. Lucien's voice cracked like a whip. I care because the moment you walk into that warehouse, Katya has leverage. She'll use you against him, use him against you. She's counting on you being desperate enough to trade yourself for his life. Then that's what I'll do. And you'll both die. Is that what you want? Nola's chest heaved, tears burned behind her eyes. I can't just sit here while they hurt him. You won't. You'll do something more important. What? Lucienne pulled up a different screen. Financial records, offshore accounts. You'll find Katya's money. Her real accounts. The ones Victor kept separate from the laundering operation. Family money. Old Russian wealth hidden in Swiss banks and Caribbean tax havens. You'll find it, and you'll transfer every penny into accounts she can't access. How does that help Mason? Because the moment we have her money, she has to negotiate. She can't kill him and still get what she wants. It's the only leverage we have. Nola stared at the screen, at the maze of numbers and codes that suddenly represented her brother's life. Can you do this? Lucian asked quietly. She didn't know, but she nodded anyway. Good. Reese will help you. Marcus will run legal interference if the banks flag the transfers. I'm taking the team to Kensington. What if you're wrong about the location? Then I'm wrong, and we improvise. He started toward the door. Lucien. He stopped. Bring him back alive. I will, or I won't come back at all. Then he was gone. The door closed with a heavy metallic thud. Nola sank into her chair and forced herself to focus on the screen. Reese moved beside her, pulled up account records, started talking about routing numbers and shell corporations and international banking regulations. The words washed over her like static. All she could hear was Mason screaming, "But..." 3 hours later, Nola had found $8 million in Volkov family accounts. Her eyes burned, her hands cramped from typing. Coffee had turned bitter in her mouth 2 cups ago. Reese leaned back and stretched. That's good. Real good. Enough to hurt them financially. It's not enough to save Mason. Maybe not. But it's a start. Marcus's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, then went pale. What? Nola demanded. That was my contact in the district attorney's office. They're reviewing Adrian's plea deal. He's offering information about accounts he claims you control independently. Says you've been running your own money laundering operation separate from Victor's network. That's insane. I didn't even know those accounts existed until a week ago. Doesn't matter. He's giving them enough detail to make it credible. Enough to get a warrant. For what? Your arrest. For conspiracy, fraud, and racketeering. The room tilted. They think I'm the criminal? Adrian's a very convincing liar, and right now he's singing a story that makes you look like the mastermind and him look like a victim caught in your web. But that's not... Nola's voice broke. That's not what happened. I know, but the DA doesn't. They just see a woman with access to $40 million in illegal funds. They see someone who disappeared from a crime scene where a major Russian crime lord was killed. They see smoke and they're assuming fire. Can you stop it? Marcus hesitated. Maybe, but it'll take time. Days, probably, and they'll freeze the accounts the moment the warrant goes through. When does it go through? 6 hours. Maybe less. Nola closed her eyes. The trap was closing from every direction. Adrian framing her, Katya hunting her. The federal government building a case against her. And somewhere across the city, Mason was bleeding in the dark. We need those accounts, she said. All of them, before the feds lock me out. That's impossible. We'd need access to at least 30 different banks, biometric verification, security protocols we can't bypass remotely. Then I'll go in person. You'll be arrested the moment you show your face. Not if I move fast enough. Reese looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Reese. This is a terrible idea, Marcus said. I know. You could end up in federal custody, the very thing Lucian's been trying to prevent. I know that too. Nola stood and grabbed her coat. Her ribs still ached, but adrenaline made everything sharp and clear. Give me the list, every bank, every account. I'll hit them in sequence. You won't make it past the third one before they connect the dots. Then I'll get 3 accounts cleaned out. That's better than 0. She was at the door when her phone rang. Lucien, she answered immediately. Did you find him? Static crackled. Then Lucien's voice, tight with barely controlled fury. Wrong warehouse. It was a trap. We lost 2 men. Reese, I need a new triangulation. Now! Reese grabbed her laptop and started typing frantically. Lucien, Nola said, Adrian's trying to frame me. Federal warrant coming. We have 6 hours before they freeze everything. Then move the money. I am. But I need to go in person. Hit the banks before they lock me out. That's suicide. It's survival. A long pause. She heard gunfire in the background, shouting. Do what you have to do, Lucien said finally. But Nola. When this is over, if we both survive, you and I are going to have a very long conversation about acceptable risk. If we both survive, you can say anything you want. I'm holding you to that. The line went dead. Nola looked at Reese. How many accounts can I access in 6 hours? If you move fast and don't get stopped, maybe 5. 6 if you're lucky. Then let's be lucky. She walked out into the freezing morning, her breath fogged. Ice crunched beneath her boots. The city was waking up around her. Delivery trucks, early commuters, the grinding machinery of normal life that felt like a foreign language now. She had 6 hours to steal $40 million from herself before the government decided she was the monster. Behind her, Reese called out coordinates for the first bank. Nola started running. Whoosh. The first bank went smooth. She walked in, presented identification, passed biometric scans, signed documents Reese had prepared, transferred $8 million into an offshore holding account Marcus controlled, walked out. 15 minutes. The second bank was harder. Questions about the large transfer. Verification calls. A manager who wanted to review the paperwork personally. Nola smiled, stayed calm, lied through her teeth about investment opportunities and time-sensitive markets. 28 minutes. By the third bank, sweat soaked her shirt beneath her coat. Her hands shook when she pressed her thumb to the scanner. The account representative gave her strange looks but processed the transfer. 19 minutes. She was walking toward the fourth location when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, a video file. Nola's thumb hovered over the screen. She knew she shouldn't watch, knew it would destroy her. She watched anyway. The video showed Mason tied to a chair in a concrete room. Blood streaked his face. His left hand was wrapped in filthy gauze. He was crying, begging. Katya's voice echoed from off-screen. 8 hours left, Nola. I hope you're working fast. The video ended. Nola stood on the sidewalk and felt something inside her crack. Not break. Just fracture in a way that would never fully heal. A hand touched her shoulder. She spun, fist raised. Marcus jumped back. It's me! It's just me! She lowered her hand. What are you doing here? Making sure you don't get arrested. He gestured toward an unmarked sedan idling at the curb. The DA's office just pushed through the warrant. Federal agents are coordinating with local police. They'll be looking for you within the hour. Then I need to move faster. Or you need to stop, disappear before they find you. Not without Mason. Nola? No. She met his eyes. I spent 3 years disappearing, making myself smaller, quieter, easier to control. I'm done. So either help me or get out of my way. Marcus stared at her, then he nodded slowly. Fourth bank is 2 blocks north. I'll drive. We can save time. They climbed into the sedan. He drove while she pulled up account information on her phone. Reese had sent new verification codes, updated protocols. Everything moved so fast it felt like drowning. The fourth bank. The fifth. Transfers processed in stuttering increments, every minute feeling like hours. By the sixth bank, sirens wailed in the distance. That's for us, Marcus said tightly. How much time? Minutes, maybe less. Nola ran into the bank. The manager looked up, started to smile. Then his phone rang. He answered. His face changed. He looked at Nola with sudden recognition. Miss Vey, I'm going to need you to wait here for a moment. No, I need to... Please, have a seat. His hand moved toward something beneath the desk. A panic button. Nola grabbed her bag and ran. Behind her, the manager shouted. Security guards materialized. She burst through the doors onto the street. Police cars screeched around the corner. Marcus pulled up beside her. Get in. She dove into the passenger seat. He gunned the engine. They flew through morning traffic. Horns blared. Pedestrians scattered. Behind them, sirens multiplied. We're not going to make it, Marcus said. Yes, we are. Nola, there are police in front of us now. She looked ahead. 2 patrol cars blocking the intersection. Marcus slammed the brakes. Officers emerged with weapons drawn. Nola's phone rang. She answered without looking. You ran, Katya said. How disappointing. I thought you had more courage. Where's my brother? Still alive, barely, but that changes in precisely 6 hours. I'm getting your money, like you wanted. No. You're running from police, like a coward. Do you know what Victor taught me? That cowards deserve only one thing. A gunshot echoed through the phone. Mason's scream cut off mid-breath, then silence. 5 hours, Katya said softly. And no more fingers. Next time I take something more permanent. The line went dead. Nola sat in the car surrounded by police and felt every piece of herself splinter into something sharp and irrevocable. Marcus raised his hands. Do exactly what I say. Slowly exit the vehicle. Hands visible. Do not! Nola kicked open the door and ran. Shouts erupted. Footsteps pounded. Someone yelled to stop or they'd fire. She didn't stop. She ran between buildings, through alleys. Her lungs burned. Her vision blurred. She didn't care. She ran until she couldn't hear sirens. Then she collapsed against a dumpster in an alley that smelled like rot and desperation and pulled out her phone with shaking hands. One missed call. Lucien. She called back. He answered immediately. Where are you? I don't know. Somewhere downtown. The police almost got me. I know. I've been monitoring their radio. Are you hurt? No. Mason? Her throat closed. Katya shot him. I heard it. I heard... Did she say he was dead? No, but... Then he's not. She's trying to break you. Make you panic. Don't give her that. Lucien, I can't do this. Yes, you can. I can't. Every direction I turn, everything gets worse. The feds want me. Katya has my brother. Adrian's turned me into a monster. I don't know how to fix this. You don't fix it. You survive it. Then you burn everything that tried to destroy you. How? By being exactly what they're afraid you'll become. She closed her eyes. Snow started falling again, cold and clean and indifferent to human suffering. I found the warehouse, Lucien continued. Mason's alive, barely. But alive, we're setting up for extraction. I need 2 more hours. Katya said 5. She's lying. She'll kill him the moment she gets the money, or when she gets bored. Whichever comes first. So what do? You give her a reason to wait. Transfer money into an account she can see but can't access. Make her think she's winning. String her along until I can get Mason out. And then? Then we end this. Permanently. Nola looked at her hands. They'd stopped shaking. That should have scared her more than anything else. Lucien, when this is over, if we both survive, yes? I want Katya, personally. A long pause. Okay. You're not going to argue? No, because I understand what you're feeling right now, and because some debts can only be paid in blood. Is that wrong? I don't know, but it's honest. The line went quiet, except for the sound of both of them breathing. 2 people in different parts of a frozen city, surrounded by violence and impossible choices. 2 hours, Lucien said finally. I'll get him out, I promise. And if you can't, then I won't come back. That's not 2 hours, Nola. Stay alive until then. He hung up. Nola sat in the alley and opened her laptop. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with mechanical precision. She found Katya's accounts, found the holding companies, found the family wealth Victor had died protecting. She transferred everything into escrow, $43 million suspended in digital limbo, visible, tantalizing, but untouchable without specific authorization. Then she sent Katya a message. Your money is here. Waiting. Release my brother and I'll give you the codes. The response came 30 seconds later. You first. No. Proof of life first. Demanding terms now? How bold. Give me proof or I burn every penny. 3 minutes of silence, then a video. Mason, still tied, still bleeding, but breathing. His eyes focused on the camera, terrified but alive. Nola, he whispered, don't give them anything. Please, just run. Get away from... The video cut off. Nola sent the escrow account details. 2 hours. Bring him to the old rail yard on Kensington. Alone. No tricks. And if I refuse, then you never see this money again. And I make sure every law enforcement agency in the country knows exactly where to find your remaining assets. Another pause. You have changed, little rabbit. Victor would have enjoyed breaking you. Victor's dead. Yes, you will be too. 2 hours. Come alone. Nola closed the laptop. She had 2 hours to survive. 2 hours for Lucien to pull off a miracle. 2 hours until she either saved her brother or watched him die. She stood and walked out of the alley into the falling snow. Somewhere above, the sky was the color of old bruises. And for the first time in her life, Nola Vey felt dangerous enough to match it. The rail yard looked like a graveyard for industrial ambition. Rusted tracks disappeared beneath snow and weeds. Abandoned freight cars sat tilted on broken axles like beached ships. The main warehouse loomed against the gray sky. 3 stories of corrugated metal and shattered windows, surrounded by chain-link fence decorated with no trespassing signs nobody had bothered enforcing in years. Nola stood at the perimeter and counted her own heartbeats. 1 hour and 47 minutes since Katya's message. 13 minutes since Lucien's last text. In position. Wait for my signal. No signal yet. She wore the Kevlar vest again. It pressed against her fractured ribs like a constant reminder of every mistake that brought her here. The cold bit through her coat. Her breath fogged. Her hands were steady now. That should have terrified her, but all she felt was a kind of numb clarity. Her phone buzzed. Katya. I see you standing there like a lost child. Come inside. Alone. Or your brother dies in the next 60 seconds. Nola looked toward the warehouse. Movement flickered in the upper windows. Snipers. At least 2. She started walking. The chain-link gate hung open. Snow crunched beneath her boots. Every step felt like walking toward the edge of something that couldn't be uncrossed. The warehouse door stood ajar. She pushed it open. Inside, the space stretched vast and hollow. Support columns rose like skeletal fingers. Moonlight spilled through holes in the roof, painting everything silver and black. Old machinery rusted in corners. The air smelled of metal and ice and something organic rotting beneath the floorboards. Mason hung from chains in the center of the room. Not dead, but close. His wrists were bound above his head, arms stretched until his toes barely touched the concrete. Blood crusted his face and shirt. His left hand was wrapped in filthy bandages that leaked red. One eye was swollen shut. The other tracked her movement with desperate recognition. Nola, he croaked. Run. She took a step forward. Stop! The voice came from the shadows behind Mason. Katya emerged into the light like something carved from ice and cruelty. Mid-30s. Blonde hair pulled back severe. Expensive coat over tactical gear. A pistol hung casually in her right hand. That's close enough, Katya said. Nola stopped 15 feet away. Close enough to see Mason breathing. Far enough to dodge if shooting started. Let him down. No, not until I have the account codes. I gave you the escrow details. You saw the money. I saw numbers on a screen, numbers you control. I want full access. Transfer authorization. Everything. Then you'll kill us both anyway, Katya smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Perhaps, or perhaps I am a woman of my word. You won't know until you test me. I'm not giving you anything until he's free. Then we are at an impasse. Around them, the warehouse held its breath. Nola could feel eyes watching from the darkness. More of Katya's people. Hidden. Waiting. How many did you bring? Nola asked. Enough. For what? To torture one woman and her injured brother? Seems excessive. For Lucien Vale. I know he is here somewhere. Watching. Planning. He thinks I am stupid enough to believe you came alone. So Katya knew. That complicated things. If you know he's coming, why let me in? Because men like Vale have weaknesses. And right now, you are his. Katya tilted her head. He cares about you. I saw it on the pier, the way he positioned himself between you and Victor's guns. The way he looked at you when he thought no one was watching. That kind of attachment is useful. You're wrong. He doesn't... Please do not insult my intelligence. I have been reading men since I was 15 years old. I know obsession when I see it. Nola's jaw clenched. This has nothing to do with him. This is between us. No, this is about 30 years of my family's blood and money and power that you think you can simply steal because you sent one wrong text message. Katya's voice hardened. Do you know what Victor built? What my father built before him? Empires. Real empires. And you, a frightened little mouse who couldn't even escape an abusive boyfriend, think you have the right to dismantle them? Your empire was built on corpses. All empires are. That is what makes them empires. Then it deserved to burn. Katya's smile vanished. She raised the pistol and pressed it against Mason's temple. Transfer the money, now, or I paint these walls with his brain. Mason's good eye widened. His breathing turned ragged, panicked. Nola pulled out her phone. Her hands didn't shake. She opened the banking app. Slowly, Katya said. Any sudden moves, and the lights died. Complete darkness swallowed the warehouse. Katya's gun fired 3 times. Muzzle flashes lit the space in strobing bursts. Mason screamed. Then everything went silent except for the ringing in Nola's ears. She dropped flat, rolled behind a support column. Her ribs shrieked. She bit down on the pain and pressed herself against the concrete. Lights! Katya's voice cut through the darkness. Russian words followed. Orders. Flashlight beams sliced the shadows. 6 of them, sweeping methodically. Nola's phone screen glowed. She killed the brightness and crawled toward where she'd last seen Mason. Footsteps. Close. She froze. A flashlight beam passed 3 feet from her face. She held her breath. The beam moved on. She kept crawling. Her fingers touched something wet. Blood. She followed the trail. Mason's breathing rasped ahead. Close now. She reached him in the darkness. His body hung limp but warm. Alive. Mason, she whispered, can you hear me? A weak groan. She felt for the chains, found the lock mechanism. No key. No way to release him without tools. I'm getting you out, she breathed. Hold on. Behind you, Mason whispered. Nola spun. A flashlight beam caught her full in the face, blinding. The man behind it said something in Russian. Then his head snapped back and he dropped. Lucien materialized from the shadows. Blood spattered his tactical gear, a suppressed pistol in each hand. His face was all hard angles and controlled violence. Keys, he said. No preamble, no wasted words. I don't... He holstered one pistol and pulled out a compact bolt cutter. 2 snaps and Mason's chains fell away. Mason collapsed. Lucien caught him. Can you walk? Mason nodded weakly. Then move. Exits north side. Torres is waiting with a vehicle. What about Nola? Mason gasped. I've got her. Go. Mason looked at Nola. She nodded. He stumbled toward the darkness, clutching his ruined hand. Lucien turned to her. You shouldn't have come inside. We've been through this. And you still don't listen. I learned from you. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Then the professional mask slammed back into place. Katya's got 12 people in here, maybe more outside. We took out 4. That leaves 8 minimum between us and the exit. Where's your team? Scattered. They hit us with EMP burst. Fried our communications. We're running blind. More flashlight beams swept the warehouse. Voices called out in Russian, coordinating search patterns. They're boxing us in, Nola said. I know. So what do we do? Lucian's smile was cold and sharp. We make them regret it. He handed her a pistol. You know how to use this? Point and shoot? Close enough. 14 rounds. Don't waste them. The weight felt wrong in her hand. Too heavy. Too real. Lucien, I've never... You shot Adrian on the pier. That was different. He was trying to kill you, just like these people. The mechanics are the same. Someone points a gun at you, you point back faster. Understand? She nodded. They moved through the darkness between machinery and support columns. Lucien navigated like he'd memorized the entire layout. Probably had. They reached an office area on the 2nd floor. Broken furniture, shattered computers, windows overlooking the main floor. Lucien pressed against the wall and peered down. 6 hostiles, ground level, 2 on the catwalks. Katya's in the northwest corner coordinating search. If we can get to her... We end this, Nola finished, or die trying. Seems to be our specialty. This time his smile was real, brief but genuine. On 3, he said. We go loud. Draw their attention. My people will move on the perimeter. You said your communications were down. They are, but we planned for this. Multiple contingencies. They know what to do. And if they don't? Then we improvise. Ready? No. She wasn't ready. She'd never be ready. but she raised the pistol anyway. 3, Lucian said. He kicked open the office door and fired 6 shots in rapid succession. 3 men dropped on the floor below. Return fire erupted immediately. Bullets chewed through drywall and metal. Glass exploded. Nola aimed at a flashlight beam and squeezed the trigger. The recoil shocked through her wrists. The beam spun wildly and went out. Someone screamed, "Move!" Lucian grabbed her arm and pulled her back into cover. They ran along the second-floor catwalk. Bullets sparked off metal railings. Nola's lungs burned. Her vision narrowed to the space directly ahead. The gun felt slick with sweat in her grip. They reached a stairwell. Lucian went first, checked corners, gestured her forward. Down, down, down. They hit the ground floor in a storage area stacked with empty pallets. The smell of old wood and diesel fuel choked the air. "Katya's office should be through there," Lucian said, pointing to a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." "Should be? Intel's 3 months old. Could have changed." "Fantastic." They approached the door. Lucian tested the handle. Locked. He stepped back and kicked it once. The frame splintered. The door swung open. Empty office, desk, filing cabinets, monitors showing security feeds, but no Katya. "Trap," Lucian said. The door behind them slammed shut. Gas hissed from vents in the ceiling. Nola's eyes immediately started watering. Her throat burned. She couldn't breathe. Lucian grabbed her and pressed his jacket over her mouth and nose. "Hold your breath. Don't inhale." Too late. She'd already breathed it in. The room spun. Her legs went weak. Lucian dragged her toward the door, slammed his shoulder into it. Once, twice, it didn't budge. The gas thickened, white and choking. Nola's vision blurred. She felt her grip on the pistol loosening. Lucian pulled out his remaining gun and fired 5 shots into the door lock. Metal shrieked. He kicked again. The door exploded outward. They stumbled into the corridor. Fresh air hit like cold water. Nola gasped and coughed and felt consciousness slipping. "Stay with me," Lucian said. His voice sounded distant, underwater. She tried to focus, tried to push through the fog. Footsteps behind them. Running. Lucian turned and fired. Click. Empty magazine. He dropped the gun and pulled his knife. 3 men rounded the corner. The fight happened in brutal silence. Lucian moved like controlled violence. The knife flashed. Men dropped. Blood spread across concrete in dark pools. When it ended, Lucian stood breathing hard. Blood spattered his face and hands, none of it his. He grabbed Nola again. "Can you walk?" She nodded. Barely. They moved deeper into the warehouse, away from the gas, away from the bodies. Nola's head slowly cleared. The burning in her throat faded to a dull ache. "What was that?" she gasped. "Tear gas mixed with something else. Sedative, probably. She wanted us conscious but compliant. For what? Leverage, ransom, entertainment, pick one." They reached a loading dock area. Roll-up doors, truck bays. One bay door hung partially open, just wide enough to slip through. Freedom 10 yards away. "Wait," Lucian said. He pressed against the wall and peered through the gap. 3 vehicles outside. Armed men. At least 6. They're watching the exits. "Can we fight through?" "Maybe. Probably not. So we're trapped. We're contained. There's a difference." Not a meaningful one. Lucian's jaw tightened. He was calculating, planning, running scenarios. Then his expression changed. "The roof." "What?" "Fire escape on the east side, leads to the roof. We can move across to the adjacent building, exit through there." "That's insane. You have a better idea?" She didn't. They backtracked through the warehouse, found the rusted fire escape ladder, climbed, 3 stories straight up. Metal groaned with each step. Snow made everything slick. Nola's hands went numb. Her ribs felt like broken glass grinding together. They reached the roof. Wind hit immediately. Brutal. Arctic. It tore through Nola's coat and stole her breath. The adjacent building sat 20 feet away. Same height, flat roof, no obvious obstacles. "You're not seriously suggesting—" "Run and jump," Lucian said. "It's not that far. It's 20 feet. 15, maybe 16. Over a 3-story drop. Only if you miss. That's not reassuring." Below them, shouts echoed. Flashlight beams swept upward. Someone had spotted them. They're coming up, Lucien said. We go now or we don't go at all. Nola looked at the gap, at the darkness below, at the building that suddenly seemed impossibly far away. I can't. Yes, you can. Lucien, look at me. She did. His gray eyes were steady, absolute. You've survived everything else. You'll survive this. I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. He backed up 20 feet. Then he ran. His boots pounded metal. He hit the edge and launched himself into empty space. For one terrible moment, he hung suspended against the night sky. Then he landed hard on the adjacent roof, rolled, came up in a crouch. See? He called back. Easy. Nola's heart hammered. Her hand shook. Every survival instinct screamed at her to find another way. But there was no other way. Behind her, the fire escape clanged. Men climbing fast. She backed up, tried to ignore the voice in her head listing all the ways this could go wrong. Then she ran. The edge rushed toward her. She pushed off with everything she had. Cold air, empty space, the ground impossibly far below. Her boots hit metal too close to the edge. She windmilled forward. Lucien grabbed her arm and yanked her to safety. They collapsed together on the frozen roof. Told you, Lucien gasped. Shut up! Gunfire erupted from the warehouse roof. Bullets sparked off metal around them. They scrambled behind an air conditioning unit. More shots. Closer now. Keep moving, Lucien said. They ran across the second roof, found another fire escape, climbed down into an alley thick with shadows and dumpsters. Lucien pulled out a phone. Not his usual one. A backup. He dialed. Torres, where are you? Copy. We're coming to you. 2 minutes. He hung up and turned to Nola. This way. They moved through alleys and side streets, staying low, avoiding lights. A black SUV idled behind an abandoned grocery store. Torres sat in the driver's seat. Mason lay across the back seat, conscious but barely. Get in, Torres said. Nola climbed into the back with her brother. Mason grabbed her hand with his good one. You came back, he whispered. Of course I did. You're my brother. I'm sorry for everything, for not being there when you needed me, for believing Adrian's lies, for... Stop! We're alive. That's what matters. Lucien climbed into the passenger seat. Drive. Now. Torres floored it. The SUV tore through frozen streets. Behind them, headlights appeared. Following. We've got company, Torres said. I see them. Lose them. Torres took a hard right, then a left, weaving through industrial blocks. The headlights stayed close. They're not backing off, Torres said. Then we make them. Lucien rolled down his window and leaned out with a recovered rifle, fired 3 controlled bursts. One of the pursuing vehicles swerved and crashed into a parked car. 2 more kept coming. Torres turned onto a highway on-ramp, accelerated hard. The SUV's engine roared. 90 miles per hour. 100. The pursuing vehicles matched their speed, then one pulled alongside. Nola saw the passenger window roll down. Saw the gun. Down! Lucien shouted. Bullets shredded the side of the SUV. Glass exploded. Mason screamed. Nola covered him with her body. Torres swerved hard, clipped the attacking vehicle. It spun out and disappeared behind them. 1 pursuer left. It rammed them from behind. The impact threw everyone forward. Torres fought to keep control. Another ram. Harder. They were being pushed toward the guardrail. Hold on! Torres yanked the wheel. The SUV spun. 180. Suddenly they were facing their pursuer head-on. Torres accelerated directly toward them. Chicken. Pure and simple. The other driver's nerve broke first. He swerved. Torres didn't. Metal shrieked as they sideswiped each other at highway speed. The other vehicle lost control and flipped. Once. Twice. 3 times. It came to rest upside down in the median, flames licking from the engine. Torres straightened out and kept driving. Nobody spoke for 5 miles. Finally, Lucien broke the silence. Pull off at the next exit. We need to ditch this vehicle and switch to clean transportation. Where are we going? Nola asked. Safe house? Different one. Katya doesn't know about it. You're sure? Sure enough. They exited into industrial suburbs. Torres pulled behind an abandoned factory. Another vehicle waited, a nondescript sedan. One of Lucien's men stood beside it. They transferred Mason first. He was fading in and out of consciousness. Blood seeped through his bandages. "He needs a hospital," Nola said. "Can't risk it. Hospitals report gunshot wounds. Police will be all over any ER within 50 miles. Lucien looked at the driver. "Call Dr. Chen. Tell her to meet us at the Riverside location. Full surgical kit." The man nodded and made the call. They loaded into the sedan. Lucien drove this time, fast but controlled, taking back roads, avoiding cameras. Nola held Mason's hand and watched her brother's blood soak through her fingers. "He's going to be okay," Lucien said quietly. "Chen's the best trauma surgeon I know. He'll make it." "You can't know that." "No, but I choose to believe it anyway." They drove in silence. Snow started falling again. The world outside turned white and endless. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a house that looked like it had been designed to disappear. Single story. Bland exterior. The kind of place you'd forget 5 seconds after seeing it. Lucien carried Mason inside. Dr. Chen was already waiting with supplies spread across a dining table converted into an operating theater. "On the table," she said. "How many times was he shot?" "Once. Lower abdomen. Bullets still in there." "Wonderful." Chen pulled on gloves and leaned over Mason. "I need everyone out except people willing to hold him down. This is going to hurt." Nola stayed. Lucien stayed. Torres left. For the next hour, Nola watched Dr. Chen work with brutal efficiency. Mason screamed twice, passed out once, but he lived. When Chen finished, she stripped off blood-soaked gloves and lit a cigarette despite being indoors. "He'll survive. Bullet missed major organs by about 2 centimeters. Lucky boy." She looked at Nola. "Keep him still. Keep him hydrated. If he develops fever over 102, call me immediately." "Thank you." "Thank Lucien. He's the one who pays me enough to work at 3 in the morning on fugitives." Chen packed her gear and left. Nola sat beside Mason's unconscious form and finally let herself breathe. They'd survived. Barely. But survived. Lucien appeared in the doorway. "We need to talk." "Now?" "Yes." She followed him into what looked like an office. Maps covered one wall. Surveillance photos covered another. He closed the door. "Katya's not going to stop," he said. "Tonight proved that. She'll keep coming until one of you is dead. So what do we do?" "We end it, tomorrow, before she regroups." "How?" Lucien pulled up a satellite image on a tablet. "This is Katya's actual base of operations, not the warehouse, her real location, where she lives, where she keeps her records, where she's most vulnerable." The image showed an estate outside the city, walls, gates, security. "You want to attack her at home?" "I want to finish this war before it costs any more lives." "That's suicide. She'll have more security there than, which is why we don't attack, we negotiate." Nola stared at him. "You've lost your mind." "No, I'm being practical. You have her money. She has nothing left except pride and revenge. We offer her a deal: exile, relocation, life in exchange for leaving Philadelphia forever. She won't take it. Maybe not, but we give her the option, and if she refuses—" He didn't finish the sentence, didn't need to. Nola looked at the surveillance photos, at Katya's face frozen in a moment of cold calculation. She thought about Mason lying in the next room with a bullet wound, about 3 years of Adrian's brutality, about Victor's empire built on corpses, about every person who'd tried to make her small and quiet and obedient. "No," she said. Lucien's eyebrow raised. "No? No negotiation? No deals? No mercy? She tortured my brother. She would have killed us both. She doesn't get to walk away from this." "Nola, I'm done being the victim who survives and runs away. I'm done letting other people decide how my story ends. Katya made this personal, so we end it, personally." Lucien studied her for a long moment. She saw something shift in his expression. Recognition, maybe, or respect. "Okay," he said quietly. "Then we go to war. One last time. And we don't stop until she's buried or we are." "When?" "Tomorrow night. We hit her estate at dusk. Full tactical assault. No prisoners. No witnesses." "I'm coming with you." "I know." He didn't argue, didn't try to protect her, just accepted it. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow is going to be very, very bloody. He left. Nola stood alone in the office and looked at her reflection in the dark window. The woman staring back wasn't the same person who'd sent a desperate text message from a locked bathroom 2 weeks ago. This woman had killed, had survived impossible odds, had learned to carry violence like a second skin. She didn't know if that was growth or corruption. But tomorrow, when the guns started firing, she knew exactly whose side she'd be on. Her own. For the first time in her life. And if that made her a monster, then at least she'd be a monster who chose her own path. She turned off the light and walked back to sit with Mason. Outside, snow continued falling. And somewhere across the frozen city, Katya Volkov was preparing for the war. Neither of them would walk away from whole. Dawn came cold and colorless. Nola stood at the window watching frost patterns bloom across the glass like frozen veins. Behind her, Mason slept fitfully on the makeshift hospital bed, his breathing shallow but steady. Dr. Chen had left antibiotics and painkillers with instructions written in handwriting so illegible it looked like a dare. Lucian appeared in the doorway carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one without speaking. They stood together in the gray light, drinking bitter heat and watching the city wake up to a day neither of them might survive. "You don't have to do this," Lucian said finally. Nola didn't look at him. "We've had this conversation." "I know, I'm having it again anyway." "Why?" "Because I need to know you understand what we're walking into. This isn't the pier. This isn't a warehouse ambush. Katya's estate is a fortress. She'll have 20 men minimum. Professional soldiers, not street thugs. The odds of us walking out alive are bad." "I know. You've told me. And you're still coming." "Yes." "Why?" She finally turned to face him. His gray eyes were tired, blood still crusted beneath his fingernails from last night's violence. He looked like a man who'd forgotten what peace felt like. "Because if I don't," Nola said quietly, "I'll spend the rest of my life running from shadows, jumping at footsteps, waiting for the next monster to find me. And I'm done running. There are other ways to be done running: witness protection, new identity, a quiet life somewhere warm. That's not living. That's just surviving with better scenery." Lucian's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "When did you get so stubborn?" "I was always stubborn. Adrian just convinced me it was a character flaw instead of a survival trait." He nodded slowly. "Okay, then we do this together, but you follow my lead. No heroics, no improvisation. Understand?" "Yes." "I'm serious, Nola. One wrong move and—" "I understand." Behind them, Mason stirred. His eyes fluttered open. It took him several seconds to focus. "Nola?" His voice was rough sandpaper. She crossed to his side and took his good hand. "I'm here." "Where's here?" "Safe house. You had surgery. Dr. Chen says you'll be fine if you rest and don't do anything stupid." "Stupid's kind of my thing, though." He tried to smile. Failed. "What happened?" "Last thing I remember is the car and then everything gets fuzzy." "We got you out. That's what matters." Mason's gaze shifted to Lucian standing in the doorway. "You're him, the guy from the news, the one they can't catch." "Lucian Vale," Lucian said. "And they haven't caught me because I'm careful." "You saved my sister." "She saved herself. I just provided transportation." Still, Mason's grip tightened on Nola's hand. "Thank you." Lucian nodded once. Then he looked at Nola. "We leave in 2 hours. Get ready." He disappeared down the hallway. Mason watched him go, then turned back to his sister. "He's planning something dangerous, isn't he?" "Yes." "And you're going with him?" "Yes." "Nola, please don't tell me to stay here where it's safe. There is no safe anymore, not until this ends." "Then let him end it. Let him do what he does, and you stay here with me." "I can't." "Why not?" She looked at her brother, the only family she had left, the person she'd risked everything to save, and tried to find words for something that didn't translate into language. "Because she has to see my face," Nola said finally. "When it ends. She has to know that I'm not the broken woman she thought she could torture into submission. That's the only way this finishes." Mason stared at her, really looked at her for the first time since waking up. Whatever he saw made his expression shift from concern to something closer to awe. "You're different," he said. "I know. Not bad different, just, I don't know, harder, sharper. 3 years with Adrian followed by 2 weeks with Lucian Vale will do that to a person." "Are you okay? Really okay?" Was she? Nola didn't know anymore. She'd killed people, watched people die, learned to carry violence like other people carried car keys. "Ask me again when this is over," she said. Mason nodded. "Okay, but promise me something." "What?" "Promise you'll come back. I just got my sister back. I'm not ready to lose her again." Nola leaned down and kissed his forehead. "I promise I'll try." It was the most honest answer she could give. Won't. 2 hours later, 4 vehicles rolled out of the safe house in convoy formation. Nola sat in the lead SUV between Lucien and Torres. In the back seat, Reese monitored laptops showing security feeds hacked from Katya's estate. Behind them, 3 more vehicles carried 12 men armed like they were invading a small country. Because they were. "Perimeter cameras show 16 hostiles," Reese said. 4 on the main gate, 2 patrols walking the grounds, the rest scattered between the house and outbuildings. 16 we can see," Lucien corrected. "Assume 20 minimum, possibly more inside the main residence." "That's optimistic. That's realistic." They drove through suburbs that gave way to rural estates where the wealthy built walls high enough to pretend poverty didn't exist. Katya's property sat on 10 acres surrounded by stone barriers and iron gates. The main house was modern brutalism, all concrete and sharp angles and windows that looked like eyes. They stopped a quarter-mile away. Lucien pulled out a tablet showing aerial surveillance. "Reese and I go over the north wall. Plant charges on their generator and communications array. When those blow, we'll have approximately 90 seconds of chaos before their backup power kicks in. That's our window." He looked at Torres. "You and your team breach the main gate. Draw their attention. Make them think that's the primary assault." "And the real assault?" Torres asked. Lucien pointed to the east side of the property. "Me, Nola, and 3 others go through here. Service entrance, kitchen access. We move through the house, clear each floor, find Katya. And when we find her," Nola's voice was steady, "we end it." He said it like he was describing weather patterns. They synchronized watches, checked weapons. Lucien handed Nola a vest and a pistol she'd practiced firing exactly once before dawn. "Stay behind me," he said. "Always." "I know. And if it comes down to a choice between getting shot and letting someone else get shot, I let them get shot. You've told me 6 times. I'm telling you a 7th. She met his eyes. "I'll be fine." "You don't know that. Neither do you, but we're doing it anyway." Something flickered across his face, an emotion she couldn't quite name. Then he turned away and started toward the north wall. The team split up. Torres and his men moved toward the main gate. Reese disappeared into the tree line with her equipment. Lucien led Nola and 3 others through shadows that smelled like pine and approaching violence. They reached the stone wall, 12 feet high, topped with decorative ironwork that doubled as deterrent. One of Lucian's men produced a collapsible ladder. They climbed in silence. At the top, Nola looked down at manicured gardens and pathways lit by ambient ground lights, beautiful and artificial, like a painting of safety. They dropped down on the other side. The explosion came 30 seconds later, a massive boom from the north side of the property. Lights died instantly. Shouts erupted. Flashlight beams sliced through sudden darkness. "Move!" Lucien hissed. They ran low across open ground toward the service entrance. Behind them, gunfire erupted at the main gate, Torres doing his job. The service door was locked. One of Lucien's men picked it in under 10 seconds. They slipped inside. The kitchen was all stainless steel and marble. Empty. Beyond it, hallways stretched deeper into the house. Lucien moved like smoke through the darkness. The others followed. Nola brought up the rear, heart hammering, pistol raised in shaking hands. They cleared 3 rooms. Empty. The 4th room held 2 men playing cards. Both died before they could reach their weapons. The suppressed gunshots sounded impossibly loud in the enclosed space. Nola's stomach turned, but she kept moving. They reached a stairwell. Voices echoed from above. Russian. Urgent. Lucien held up 3 fingers. 3 hostiles. He went up first. fast and silent. By the time Nola reached the second-floor landing, 3 more bodies decorated the carpet. Where is she? Lucien grabbed one of the dying men. Katya, where? The man coughed blood and smiled. Too late. He died still smiling. What does that mean? Nola whispered. Nothing good. They moved deeper into the house. Every room empty, every hallway abandoned. It felt wrong, like walking through a stage set after the actors had left. They reached the 3rd floor. A door at the end of the hallway stood open. Light spilled out. Lucien signaled his men to flank. He approached the doorway with his rifle raised. Then he stopped. She's gone. Nola looked past him into what was clearly Katya's office. Monitors, files, equipment, all of it abandoned. Papers scattered across the desk like someone had left in a hurry. And on the largest monitor, a video message played on loop. Katya's face filled the screen. Hello, Lucienne. Hello, little rabbit. Her smile was cold triumph. If you are watching this, then you have fallen into exactly the trap I designed. While you waste time attacking an empty house, my people are attacking something far more valuable. Nola's blood went cold. The safe house, Katya continued. The one you think I don't know about. The one where you left Nola's wounded brother with minimal security. No, by now my men should be arriving. I estimate Mason has, perhaps 10 minutes before they find him. 15 if he's lucky and very quiet. Nola's vision tunneled. So you have a choice, Katya said. You can stay here and search for me. I promise you won't find me. I'm already on a plane to Moscow. Or you can run back to your safe house and try to save 1 injured man from 8 professional soldiers. The video looped back to the beginning. Lucien was already moving. Out! Now! Everyone out! They ran, back through the house, through the kitchen, across the grounds, over the wall. Nola's lungs screamed. Her ribs felt like they were breaking all over again. She didn't care. Mason. She'd left Mason alone. They reached the vehicles. Lucien was on the radio before his door closed. Torres, abort the gate assault. Fall back to vehicles. We need to move. Now. What's happening? It's a diversion. The safe house is compromised. Static. Then Torres's voice came back tight and urgent. Confirm. Pulling back. The convoy tore away from Katya's estate with tires screaming. Lucien pushed the speedometer past 90, then 100. Beside him, Nola couldn't breathe, couldn't think, just kept seeing Mason's face when she'd promised to come back. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered anyway. Hello, Rabbit. Katya's voice dripped venom. Did you enjoy my little surprise? If you touch him, You'll what? Kill me? You can't even find me. But don't worry. I'll leave him alive long enough for you to watch him bleed. Consider it a gift. A reminder of what happens when you steal from the Volkov family. The line went dead. Lucien's hands tightened on the wheel until his knuckles went white. How long until we reach the safe house? 20 minutes, Torres said from the back seat. Make it 10. They made it in 8. The safe house looked intact from the outside. Lights on. No obvious damage. That made it worse somehow. Lucien stopped the vehicle 50 yards away. Could be an ambush. They could be waiting for us. I don't care, Nola said. She opened the door. Nola, wait. She was already running, across the frozen lawn, up the steps, through the front door. The living room was empty. The kitchen was empty. The bedroom where she'd left Mason. She stopped in the doorway. Mason sat on the bed, awake, alert, looking confused. Behind him stood Dr. Chen holding a very large pistol. About time you got here, Chen said dryly. I was starting to think I'd have to shoot my way out. Nola's knees buckled. You're okay. You're both okay. Define okay? Mason said. I woke up to 8 Russian dudes breaking down the door. Then Dr. Chen shot 4 of them, and we barricaded ourselves in the bathroom until the other 4 decided they didn't want to die for whatever they were getting paid. Where did they go? Ran away approximately 12 minutes ago. I've been trying to call you, but the signal's jammed. Chen lowered her weapon. What the hell is happening? Lucien appeared behind Nola. His expression was pure controlled fury. Katya happened. This was all theater. The estate. The assault. All of it designed to draw us away from Mason. But why? Nola asked. She could have just taken him, and because she wanted to break you. Wanted you to arrive too late. Wanted you to live with that failure. That's what the Volkovs do. They don't just kill, they destroy. Well, she failed, Chen said. Because I don't die easy, and I really hate being interrupted during a smoke break. Lucien's phone buzzed. He answered, listened. His face went carefully blank. Understood. Thank you. He hung up and looked at Nola. That was my contact at the airport. A private jet departed for Moscow 90 minutes ago. Passenger manifest shows one female, Russian passport, diplomatic immunity. Katya, Nola said. Katya. So she's gone. She escaped. Yes. The word landed like a death sentence. All of this, all the violence and fear and desperation, and Katya had simply walked away. Nola felt something inside her crack, not break, just splinter in a way that would never fully heal. So what now? She asked. Her voice sounded distant, hollow. Now we clean this up. Get Mason proper medical care, deal with the federal warrant, find a way forward. And Katya? Katya is in Moscow under diplomatic protection, untouchable. That's not justice. No, it's reality. Nola walked past him, out of the bedroom, through the house, into the frozen morning. She stood on the lawn and looked at the sky turning pale gray with approaching day. Somewhere thousands of miles away, a woman who'd tortured her brother was drinking champagne and planning her next move. And Nola could do nothing about it. Lucien appeared beside her. He didn't speak, just stood there in the cold. I wanted to kill her, Nola said finally. Is that wrong? I don't know, probably, but it's honest. Does it get easier? The wanting? No, you just get better at living with it. That's not comforting. It's not supposed to be. They stood in silence. Behind them, Chen was helping Mason into a vehicle. Torres and his men were already disappearing. Professionals returning to whatever shadows they called home. What happens to me now? Nola asked. Federal warrant, murder charges, money laundering. I'm looking at decades in prison. Maybe. Or maybe we make the evidence disappear, make you disappear, give you the quiet life I mentioned earlier. Running away. Starting over. There's a difference. Is there? Lucien turned to face her. His gray eyes were tired but steady. 3 weeks ago, you were locked in a bathroom with broken ribs sending a text message to the wrong person. Today, you assaulted a fortified estate and survived a professional hit squad. You've already proven you're not the person Adrian tried to turn you into. The question is, who do you want to become next? Nola thought about that, about the woman she'd been, the woman she'd become, the woman she might still have a chance to be. I want to help people, she said finally. People like me, people trapped in situations they can't escape. I want to use that money, all 40 million, to build something that actually matters. Shelters, legal resources, escape routes, everything I didn't have. That's ambitious. That's the point. Lucien nodded slowly. Then that's what we'll do. Marcus can set up the legal structure, make it a foundation, legitimate, traceable. Let the feds see exactly where every dollar goes. Turn blood money into something clean. And the warrant? I have contacts. We'll make it go away. Might take time, but it'll happen. Why are you doing this? Helping me? He looked at her for a long moment. Because you sent a text message to the wrong number, and because somewhere along the way you became the right person to answer it. Something in his voice made her chest tighten. Lucien, don't. We don't need to talk about it. Not now. When? When you're ready. When you figured out who you are without monsters breathing down your neck. He started toward the vehicles. Lucien. He stopped. Thank you for everything, for coming when I asked, for believing me, for not letting me disappear. He didn't turn around, just nodded once. Then he was gone. 6 months later, Nola stood in front of a building that used to be a factory. Now it was something else, something better. The sign above the entrance read, Vale Foundation, Emergency Shelter and Legal Services. They'd opened 3 weeks ago. Already they'd helped 47 women escape situations ranging from domestic violence to trafficking. Already they'd saved lives. Inside, the space was warm and clean. Beds, counseling rooms, a legal clinic staffed by attorneys who didn't ask questions. Everything Nola had needed and never found. Mason worked in the intake office now. His hand had healed mostly. The physical scars would fade, the other ones would take longer. He saw her and waved. She waved back. Adrian Mercer had received 22 years in federal prison. The trial had been brutal. Nola testified for 6 hours straight, watched him squirm and lie and finally break down sobbing when the verdict came in. She felt nothing watching it happen. That probably said something about her. She wasn't sure what. Katya remained in Moscow, out of reach, living off family money and connections. But her syndicate had collapsed. Federal prosecutors had torn apart every asset Victor built. The Philadelphia underworld was quieter now. Not peaceful, but quieter. Nola walked through the shelter, checking on clients and staff. A woman about her age was filling out intake forms. Her face was bruised, her hands shook. She looked up at Nola with desperate eyes. "Is it really safe here?" the woman asked. Nola crouched beside her chair. "Yes, I promise. No one will find you unless you want to be found." "How do you know?" "Because I was where you are, and someone pulled me out. Now I'm doing the same for you." The woman started crying. Nola held her hand until the shaking stopped. That was the work now. One person at a time, one escape at a time, turning $40 million in blood money into second chances. The sun was setting when Nola finally left the building. She stood on the sidewalk and watched the sky turn colors that didn't have names. A car pulled up. Black sedan. Tinted windows. The passenger door opened. Lucien sat in the driver's seat. "Get in." She climbed in without hesitation. He drove without speaking, through the city, past neighborhoods she used to know when her life was smaller, out toward the river. He parked at an overlook where the water caught the last light of day and turned it gold. "I heard about the shelter," he said. "Good work." "It's not enough." "It's a start." "That's what Marcus said." "Marcus is smart." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe below them. "I'm leaving," Lucien said finally. Nola's stomach dropped. "What?" "Not permanently, just for a while. There's a situation in Boston that needs handling, then Miami. Probably 6 months before I'm back." "Oh. The foundation doesn't need me anyway. That's your thing. You've built something real, something that'll outlast both of us. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You just didn't know it yet." He pulled something from his pocket. A phone. Not his usual one, a burner. "This is for emergencies only. You call this number, I answer. Doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. You need help, you call." She took the phone. It felt heavier than it should. "Lucien." "When I get back," he interrupted. "When things are quieter. When you figured out who you are without all this chaos. Maybe we can have dinner. Talk about something other than survival for once." "I'd like that." "Good." He started the car. She didn't move. "Lucien, that night. The wrong number. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd typed the right one?" He looked at her. Really looked at her. "Every day." And I'm glad you didn't, because I'm glad I met you, even if it was the most complicated thing that's ever happened to me." "Same." They drove back to the city in silence. He dropped her at her apartment. A small place near the shelter, nothing fancy, but hers and safe and chosen. She stood on the sidewalk and watched him drive away. The phone in her pocket felt like a promise. 1 year later, Nola stood on a beach in Portugal watching the Atlantic swallow the sun. The Veil Foundation had expanded to 3 cities. They'd helped 217 women escape, saved lives, changed lives. Marcus handled most of the legal work now. Mason managed operations. Nola was just the face of it. The story. The woman who'd survived and turned her survival into something that mattered. She'd testified before Congress about domestic violence legislation, been interviewed on news programs, become the kind of person whose opinion apparently mattered to people who'd never met her. It felt surreal. The federal charges had disappeared quietly. Marcus had made them vanish through a combination of legal maneuvering and evidence that proved Adrian had framed her. She was free, legally, officially. She still didn't feel free most days, but she was learning. Footsteps in the sand behind her. She didn't turn around, didn't need to. She'd recognize those footsteps anywhere now. Lucian stopped beside her. He looked different, tanned, rested. Like 6 months away from Philadelphia had reminded him what peace felt like. "You came," she said. "You invited me." "I didn't think you'd actually show up." "I always show up, eventually." They stood together watching waves crash against rocks that had been there for millions of years and would be there for millions more. "How was Miami?" she asked. "Hot, violent, resolved. That's specific." "I'm a specific person." She smiled despite herself. "How long are you staying?" "As long as you want me to." "That's a dangerous offer." "I'm a dangerous person." "I've noticed." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. Handed it to her. She unwrapped it carefully. A phone. The same cracked phone from that night in Adrian's penthouse. The one that died before her message sent. The one that saved her life because it sent the message to the wrong number. "I kept it," Lucienne said. "Don't know why. Seemed important." Nola turned the broken device over in her hands. The screen was still shattered, the battery long dead. It looked like an artifact from someone else's life. "What do we do with it?" she asked. "Whatever you want." She looked at him, at the man who'd broken into a penthouse because a stranger asked for help, who'd declared war on a criminal empire to save her, who'd given her the space to become someone new without demanding anything in return. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For answering." He nodded. Didn't need to say anything else. She walked to the water's edge and threw the phone into the Atlantic. It disappeared beneath the waves without ceremony. When she turned back, Lucian was still standing there, waiting. "What now?" she asked. "Now we figure out what comes next." "Together?" "If you want." "I do." He smiled. It was real this time. Genuine. The kind of smile that reached his eyes and made him look like someone who might actually believe in happiness. They walked along the beach as the sky turned colors that didn't exist anywhere else. Behind them, the city of Cascais glowed warm against the approaching night. Ahead, the future stretched out uncertain and terrifying and full of possibilities neither of them had planned for. But for the first time since that frozen night in Philadelphia, Nola felt like she was walking towards something instead of running away from everything. And the man beside her, the wrong person who turned out to be exactly right, matched her stride for stride. Not because he had to, because he chose to. Just like she'd finally chosen herself. The ocean kept crashing. The world kept turning. And two people who'd survived impossible odds learned how to exist in the quiet spaces between violence. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was real. And real was enough.